welcome to Comfy Cozy Up. So let's talk about October. October was an interesting reading month because I didn't stick to nothing planned. I failed at Victober. I only read one classic. Did not finish the subscriber pick. I literally I got a good amount of chapter in that book, and then I stopped because I kind of distracted. I was distracted because October was a fun month for me. It was my birthday month, and I did a lot. Every weekend I was doing some form of celebration, and I think what ended up happening in that is I didn't want to read anything heavy. So a lot of the books I read were romance, and even though they were romance, a lot of them was also short. My Kindle. So we'll get into that. So let's only talk about the two physical books. So I did read the group read for the doctor's wife, and of course I didn't read the book edition. I read it on my Kindle. So I'm gonna show you my Kindle in a minute because my Kindle was my friend. I enjoy this, but at the same time, it is such a messy classic. You know, the whole married for convenience and then thinking the grass is green on the other side. But it's also a young woman who don't even know who she is and is into this and got into a marriage and got persuaded, and because she's living in the fairy tale of her books. So her books are giving her this fairy tale life that she thinks she should have, and what she's not having, because this doctor is very he's not rich. He lives within his means, and he's, you know, a doctor that care about the community he's in and about poor folks, you know, that he's taking care of. And she wants a fairy tale. She wants the guy that's gonna have the money and give her everything that she thinks she should have. And then when it doesn't work out the way she wants is when, you know, all hell will break loose. But it's a bit of a tragedy in this as well. There's a bit of forgiveness. It's one of those forgiven story, even though I didn't care for the main character, but the author gave it a more forgiving, and it also brings back the fact that it was written by a woman. I think a man wrote this storyline, it would not been as so forgiving as the storyline came off. It's like, she's young, we forgive her for her indiscretion, that kind of deal. And again, a woman wrote this. It's very clear a woman wrote this. Yeah. Oh Lord, let's talk about this Booker situation. So yeah. Graciously, Lord Jesus. I think if this was not me committing to reading the Booker shortlist like I do for the last 5-6 years of reading the entire shortlist, I probably DNF this book, because for what it's about, it dragged. It absolutely dragged. And it is following a spy. And for this to be a spy book, I don't know how the author took away the... What's the word I'm trying to say? The action that we could have gotten from the storyline. It just was just... It's all about... It's a mind F. It's a mind F. That's the best way I can put it. This is following a spy who is working for a private sector. She used to be working for the government, of course, and she got caught up in a case that she kind of got screwed. Her tactic caught up with her, and she ended up losing that job. So she is now working for a private sector, and she is found her way in a circle for this particular guy she's following, but she's also... His influence is from this other dude. She's reading his work. She's reading his email. She's reading his written things, and it's a bit of in this where you get living in the past kind of, and they're in this like colony where she's like, you know, insected herself in it and becoming this person in it, and somewhat with getting influenced by what she's reading. It's kind of, some of it was like, what the hell, where she having to subject herself, pretending to be the lover of this man, and, you know, giving her body and doing all these things because, again, it's a case and that's what comes with the case. And then the end, it was like, look, I didn't have the patience for this book. I really didn't. And it was like, when I got to the end, I was like, okay, yeah, I get the message, but I didn't care. And that's how I felt. Sadly, this was another womp womp for me. And it was on other awards book lists, and I get people like these kind of twisted story, but I just wasn't the target audience for this on a regular basis. But you know, being it's a book award, and I love to read them and analyze them. I did This was a no for me. I'm sorry. If you loved it, good for you, but it just wasn't for me. And yeah, that was book number 5. Now book number 6, I don't think it's gonna be read because the shipping costs more than the book, because you can't get it here. It doesn't publish here until February. Makes no sense. It's the first time I think I've ever not been able to pick up a book and having to pay this amount of money for a book. I've done it before where the books weren't released in the US, but it was in the UK, and I was able to get a hold of it, but wasn't spending that kind of money. Absolutely just a no. And especially how I feel now, where we're saving that for my book review for we saving that. So anyway, now I do have another Kindle. She works perfectly fine, but she's big, and this was perfect for all those fanny pack that I've been making. It just fits in there. So I've traveled with this all the time, and because I've been playing around and getting the setting right, it is even perfect at night. I'm crawling up in the bed. I don't want to have a whole bunch of light, but I can read this. I was like, yeah. So I get the hype of the Paperwhite. I get the hype of this size. It is such a convenient situation. Because of that, I was flying through these books. Flying through this book. I don't know about you guys, but when I read on Kindle, I read much quicker than I do physical books. But I was flying through these books because one day romance is, for me, I can read a romance in a day. I've read 2 books in a day, that kind of deal. But some of these books were short, so be fair, they were short. So love my Kindle, absolutely. So let's get into this, all these Kindle Unlimited books that I've read. So let's start with Signature of You by Casey Mill. Then I read 3 Casey Mill this month. 3? Yeah, 3. And this one is about this musician. He got himself into some tussle in a recording station, and so he decided he's going to go off the grid and go cool down while they figure out what to do, while his management and everybody figure out what he's going to do, because it's potential lawsuit and all that could happen. And what he did was, while he was at this time, he's just living normal. He's reflecting. He's going through all these phone calls and things he has to deal with. But he's there just being him. And he met this woman. And this woman happens to have a child. And it's just instantly, he just gravitated to her. He doesn't know why, but he just do. And she is also not knowing who he is. She had no idea who he was. But when she find out who he is, it's kind of like, oh wow. But it reminded her of her past, and we learned that she too was part of the industry. So that is something that they have to deal with, and her secrets is more shocking than his. So this is how juicy the story is. But I love how protective he was, and how he wanted to protect her because of the media that was haunting both of them, like everywhere they go, and her child as well, and protect. So the secrets and why she was no longer out there, you get to learn that, and how they tried to help her in midst of that was just this was a really good story. I really like how the author took this story and give it a more of a protected, like, things happened. We all know, we've seen all these things that's happening in the industry that's coming out. So we know that a lot of times, you know, things happen that, as us being the outside people getting this one-sided story, we are thinking this is the life of them, when there's a whole different situation happening. You get that in this storyline, where I was like, oh, why does this look like reality right now? Alright, so then the other one is a series. It's book 1 and 2, and the first one is Put It On Everything. And this one I really like because it's sports romance. So I've read 3 actual sports romance. 3 sports romance, and it was like, I was getting confused at first because I was reading them back to back, and I was like, Why did I do that to myself? I should have had like little breaks in between. But this one, you have a football player. He's very well known, and he's at that point where he's like, looky here, I need a winning team, and I'm not having this. But you know, he also has a very sketchy past with a lot of these, you know, athletes where they're, you know, they got skeleton in the closet kind of deal. And sometimes people will hold that over their head, that kind of deal, you know. Yeah. Anyway, he now fell for the actual general manager of the team, which is a big no. And she has a connection to the partners because of her father. So there's that she has to earn and let everybody know she deserves the position she's in. But also, she can't be messing with the player. So just imagine them being secretive, keeping everything on the hush. And what would happen when everybody find out that they're sleeping together. Yeah, I'm going to leave it at that. But just know how they were able to work it out and all the things that was happening and what he got out of it. And, you know, he put his foot down as an athlete, saying that, you know, he's willing to leave if he can't get certain things that he's deserved on a team. So, yeah. So, the part 2 is basically the friends that they had hook up. And this is basically friends with benefit kind of deal. They are not even friends. They're just getting it on. And in this one, you have Just Say You Will. And this one, I think, is one of those annoying books that I didn't care for it as much because I felt like you're grown. If you're willing to screw each other, you should be willing to sit down and talk about potential of a relationship. And they both have this idea what a relationship is, and it's negative for them, even though they have friends that they see are in love. And it's just like, for me, it was like, get together. You're too grown for that. Get together. That's how I felt about this one. And I didn't like it as much as the first one. I really loved. This one was just okay. Now we have book 2 of a book that I read back in September. And that book was, what was the book I read in September? I think it says, Cant Catch Me. Yeah. So this one I liked a lot. I think this was such a good sports romance. I liked how they met. This is basically 2 individuals met at a party. It was the female is like this social media person, and she's have a history of dating athletes before. She had a party, and this guy who is, if you read the previous book, something happened, so you knew why he was bummed out. So he was there looking just sad, reliving the incident that happened in the first book. And this is a spin-off, so of course he was a small character in the first book, but if you read it, you knew why he felt a certain way. But it was just, she felt some kind of way. She's like, are you okay? So that's that instant connection, and somebody decided to take a picture of them and post it on social media, and it blew up. So people thought they were dating, and that was the first time they even saw each other. They don't even have each other's number. There was just a, hi, you all right? That kind of interaction. But the chemistry in their eyes, you would think from the picture that it's more going on. Eventually they do date. Eventually they have to go through her past of, people thinking she's an industry hoe. And also him being an athlete, don't want the drama. She also have a father that has an issue when you learn this in the story, which is why it's, it's named 2-minute warning. So there's that. So I really like this. I really like the message in this. I like the parenting factor that comes into the story that made the story more interesting. I like the game and why the game was important for them to win, and the intensity of reading it and not knowing how it's going to turn out all the way to the end. I love that part of the story, and this was definitely like the sports romance, and you get the highlight of the story of a sport if you're into like football and all of that, and the plays. They heavy into that, but it really makes it fun, because I'm not really big on sports romance, but I like it when it's a balance. It's a nice balance where it's a sports romance, but also you have a good storyline with it. Then we have Capture My Love. Yes, Tay Monet. I haven't read anything from her in a very long time. And this one is a business owner. She is a young girl that's graduating from, she's in her last semester in college. And she is a boutique owner, and she has this eye for fashion. She wants to eventually design her own clothes. And then you have a photographer who also is a father, and he has a very healthy relationship with the mother of his child. They just had a relationship that just didn't work. And I love that factor in this, how it shows that you can have that healthy relationship, co-parenting, and date other people without any issue. And it was just really done well in this. And so of course they're just like getting to know each other and going through their hiccups of love and what love is, and how to navigate that. And you know, they have their family relationship and the parent stuff. It's very much, to me, it's not over dramatic, there's not over the top storyline in this. It was just really meeting someone, getting to know them, and you know, navigating the feelings that are new and feels different and strange, and having a child in the mix of it, and the expectation sometimes a child may have seen something different that is not their parents together, that kind of deal. I really like this was really good. And then we have Danny Allen's newest book. So this was a book that just came out, and it came out at the right time because of course it's during the, you know, HBCU their homecoming. And so this is Bignick Energy, and Bignick Energy is cute, very unrealistic, but also very cute, but also nostalgic, because I keep thinking about you know, that person that you had met in college and you didn't take the opportunity to, you know, say what's up, or let the person, or pursue the person. And then, you know, years, you know, you're grown and you think you still have it and you think you're gonna get it, that kind of deal. This is what this was about. This is a woman who's like 10 years later, they go into the homecoming, and this particular guy that she's always had a crush on, to the fact that she followed the person on social media and knew that he was single. And she's like, I'm gonna get her man. I'm gonna get him. And how she did it, it was kind of like really accidental, but not quite accidental. And I think I like that part of the story. But there's like a lot of unrealistic thing about this, but again, it was very cute and very nostalgic for me, so I was smiling. If you watch my video when I talk about this book, you know why. And also I liked that the dating part, and it was like the perfect date. And I love when that first date is with someone who actually listens to what you said and plan a date to reflect you and what you like. Love that. Y'all know that blog post, if you haven't read it yet, The Perfect Date, but he wasn't the one, that kind of deal, something like that. I had go check out that blog post. But I really like it for that. But again, cute but so unrealistic, so unrealistic. And then we're gonna end with a series. 3 books in a series, and Christina C. Jones, I'm Addicted. I also wrote a blog post talking about the books I've read from her this year. I've read a lot from her this year. I think we're up to 11. I think 11 or 12. Yeah. So this is Vegas Night. And Vegas Night is a short story novella, but it's one of those where I'm like, ma'am, especially the last book. I needed to be full length. I felt like, are we getting a spin-off? Are we getting a spin-off that's going to talk about more situation? Because it is unfinished for sure. Versus the other two, I felt like it ended, and it ended how it's supposed to end, that kind of deal. But that last book, So let's talk about the first one. We have Maybe Next Time. And this is pretty much a woman who's fed up, and she decided she's going to file for divorce, and that's when the man is woke. But you learn why. And it really goes back to both are grieving a loss, but in a different way, and they don't know how to communicate with each other, and they both are at fault. But when you're reading this, you're kind of wondering what's going on, because the chemistry between them is just there. Y'all, they can't keep their hand off each other, but then after they handle business, they don't even want to deal with each other, kind of deal. It's like, but he's also not realistic in terms of he's okay with how things are as long as she's there. because he's withdrawn because of what happened. But I love this. I love just how aggressive the band is. The band is very aggressive. He was one for the streets, but he's a businessman now. So you know, yeah. And then the second one is, just imagine you best friend with somebody for 20 years. You never looked at them in a certain that way. Got a little happy-go-lucky at a certain event, and you woke up the next day with him naked in front of you. Yeah. This was juicy, but this was so annoying. It's one of those like, girl, you did the deed. Y'all done made a decision that y'all gotta live with. And that decision that they gotta live with, that the author, Mr. She played around with this a lot, because it's like, did they really, is it legal? That it's a whole lot of that going on in this one. And even at the third book where they hint at it, it's like, I need a full-length book. Anyway, and then the last book, the last book is my favorite of the three. And maybe one more time, that's and Blue, aka Brandon. This is smut up there. If you are not a fan of heavy duty smut, do not even. We're talking The Secret Room. We're talking motorcycle behavior. This was so good and so spicy, but I just love the shenanigan between them. I love how she is that aggressive female, but at the same time, she's like, I'm gonna let him get his way, you know. And I just love the chase and the I don't even want to give it away because it's short, but let me tell you, I love everything about these two. I love everything about this one. This one was like fire, was on fire from the beginning. And how it ended, the second book, there's a part at the end. So I knew I needed to read the third one right away, because I was like, oh, we ended like that? Oh, we need to get to the third book. And I was not disappointed, because this book was fire. And just know, if you are not with the spice, don't even pick it up. But just know, these two are just meant to be. I love how his mama, you know, there's a moment in this where he's like, Mama, you praying for me? Are you praying for me? Because this is not a normal situation. Like, why am I drawn to this kind of thing where, you know, he's supposed to be the, you know, choir mom kind of deal. And, you know, so he's supposed to be tough. Why are you making a woman, breaking him down? What? Yeah, it's that kind of book. As you can see, I'm smiling because I really enjoy that one. So that is it, guys. That is it. I'm hoping to get back to some more books. I am reading one that's pretty heavy that I'm going to review. I'm going to do a balance of doing videos and also do some blog posts once a week. I think I'm back to my groove of that. But I am going to continue. I'm going to pick up some more of the books that I did not get to. I'm going to try and push to read a little bit more than I intended on reading at first. But we'll see. But I need to get some more classic before the end of the year. So between this month and next month, I want to get at least 3 classics on there, because I feel like I suffered a little with the classic this year. I didn't read as much as normal. So yeah, so we'll get back to normal. Let me know if you read any of these books. Let me know how you feel about the book. And did you have a good October? And, you know, thanks for all the love on these videos that I've been pumping out in the last month. And I appreciate it. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.